Hello, my name is Rich Howard, owner of Architectural Builders Supply. In this video is to bring you a closer look at the Schlage number 34-305. This is a tiny little 5 bottom pin from Schlage. Not much you're going to see on the camera because of just how simply tiny this is, but it's a number 5 bottom pin. Schlage is a two-step system, and they have 10 total depths in 15 thousandths of an inch increment. And a 5 pin is a certain length, longer than a 3 and shorter than a 7, that sort of stuff. The 3430 tells us that it's a bottom pin. As you change that last digit, you're going to get a different bottom pin. So a 5 is a 5, a 9 is a 9, a 0 is a 0, and all through all 10 steps. There is a link below this video to a document called Key Bidding Specifications, and that's a handy document because it will allow you to review all of the bottom pins and their length. If you want to know the length of the bottom pin, that's great. You may not care. You may not never need to know it because you're only pinning Schlage and you're dealing with original equipment. But in the world of locksmithing, when you enter that universe, all of a sudden you realize calling this a 5, you don't, okay, fine, call it a 5. That's good to know. We could also call it a .240. And if you're cutting or creating keys by depth and spacing code, which is really what that document is, almost, you really don't need to know it's a 5. It can be anything. Because that document tells us what our root depth is, along with our, it is a spacing and depth chart. So the spacing is the shoulder stop to the first cut, and then the center to center of each cut. Then my root depth, actually my root depth. So the 5 is 240 thousandths long, and if I put my caliper on here, I guarantee you it's going to be exactly 240 thousandths when I measure that. And it's difficult because I can't, it's a very small piece of equipment with my chubby little French fry fingers. I put my caliper on there, it's .24 on the money. What's not on that document is information that would be helpful to know. The effective plug diameter of the Schlage system is .500, as it is in many other systems, half inch, 0.5. And you can prove that, or at least proof it to yourself, I should say. If you know the effective plug diameter is 0.5, and you know that the pin length is .240, look at the root depth. Well, the root depth is the bottom of the key blank, or the root of the key, to the depth of the cut. And if you measured that with a caliper, it's going to be .260. I don't even have to look, because I know it's 0.5, less .240, .260 is what it is. So a locksmith doesn't need to know it's a 5. I can measure my shoulder stop to my first cut, then my center to center. I can know my root depths, and then I can cut a key by code, whether I'm using a fancy machine or if I'm literally filing it by hand. As long as I've got a caliper or a tool like this, I'm going to be able to cut a key if I've got the spacing and depth chart. And that stuff's pretty much always published. Sorry. Now, on that depth and spacing chart, that is a handy document in the sense that you can know the part number. So a 34-30 tells us it's a bottom pin. When you add the 5 to it, you're going to get a 5. If you make it a 9, you're going to get a 9, and so on. Only sold as a bag of 100, by the way. Also, the master pins are listed there. That's a 34-20 number. Finger pins are also listed there, and that's going to be in those instances where you've got like an Everest or a Primus system where you've got to have some finger pins. Springs are listed there. Top pins are listed there, also known as driver pins. There are 3 different sizes in the Schlage world, and you do need to be using the right top pin if you're pinning stuff, only because long term your spring will operate as it's engineered and designed to operate in that fashion. So that's a handy document. Might be just thoroughly overkill for what you're doing. You might just need number 5 pins. Well, at the very least, you get the part numbers of the other stuff and maybe learn something along the way, I guess. Finally, there's a link below this video to the manufacturer's page where you can pull up not only all of the Schlage products that we sell, but a link to the manufacturer's website, as well as a link to the full product catalog. And on that document, on that page as well, is several other resource documents like the keying and cylinder service manual. Speaking of service manual, the service manual of all the parts and pieces for Schlage locks that are published are there. That's incredibly handy. There are some archival documents there, like old vintage Schlage catalogs and a service manual. And if you want to really interest yourself about the world of Schlage, do a Google patent search for Walter R. Schlage, or Schlage and Lock, and you'll certainly find how Mr. Schlage developed dozens of patents. And the one that comes to mind most importantly is the key cylinder lock, or the cylinder lock, meaning he figured out a way to stick a cylinder within the knob itself, revolutionizing, an entire branch or an offshoot of a type of lock set, a cylindrical lock set that is attributed to Schlage, Walter R. Schlage, in 1925 or so. Don't quote me, but something in that range. So very fascinating. If you have any questions on the Schlage 34-305 number 5 bottom pin or any other Schlage product, please feel free to reach out to us. And thank you.